Hello everyone, today I want to share with you my experience with one meal a day and intermittent fasting. I have been doing intermittent fasting and one meal a day for about 8 months now. I'll post a series of videos which covers various aspects of my experience, obviously from different angles. Um, I started this in way back in April 2017. So how did I start? What was the inspiration for me to start? Really, it was completely coincidental. I somehow came across this article about one meal a day and the benefits of eating just one time a day, and was pretty intrigued by it. Then I came across a YouTube video which also said the same things about one meal a day program. So most of the people generally get into this kind of diet or regimen to reduce their or control their weight. But for me, I was pretty okay, well within my range. I was 75 to 78 kgs during that time. Um, so weight was not my concern, but what interested me was other benefits with regards to better energy levels, better health, and better focus that the article pointed out. So I want to see what changes I would see in my lifestyle if I would get a better life out of it. That was my main inspiration behind getting into this program. Apart from that, I also had high triglycerides for the past 7 to 8 years at the very least. So I've been trying to control it with exercise, controlling my food. I went on diet, went on pretty decent amount of exercise and outdoor games, etc. But unfortunately, it didn't bring it down uh, to an acceptable range, right? It was still very high, though it came down marginally. So I want to see if this had an impact um, on my triglycerides or lipid levels as well. Um, so, so that was my inspiration mainly. So how did I start? So as you might have realized, or you might have seen a ton of other videos, you cannot jump into eating one meal a day or doing intermittent fasting just one fine morning, right? So you have to prepare your body and prepare mentally for that. I started this in April 15th. So from April 15th onwards, I started adjusting my food habit, my diet. So I kind of reduced my uh, breakfast intake, slowly reduced my breakfast to only eggs, and then skip my breakfast in the first week itself. Then next I targeted lunch, and initially I went on purely veg salad or veg diet or very light lunch, and in the evening I would have a more fuller meal. So I did this for about 10 days, and by April 26th I went on to the first day of one meal a day program, right? It was not too tough for me. The only problem is in the first week or first 3 or 4 days where you would have to fight hunger a bit. But for most people, I don't think it's going to be a problem. Yeah, as long as you adjust it properly. So you might, instead of me taking 10 days, you might take 15 days to adjust for yourself. So that's about it. So after 10 days, I completely went into that intermittent fasting and one meal a day, and been doing it ever since. One other thing that I want to clarify is I was on one meal a day for the first approximately first 3 months. May, June, and July probably. I was in of one meal a day. Then I switched to intermittent fasting because that sometimes, since I go to office and have to stay back for work and all, I don't get food at the right time and the right food at the right time. So um, that is why at some point I adjusted it to move away from one meal a day and more into an intermittent fasting regimen where you could eat your food in a window of 2, 4, or 8 hours, whatever that may be, up to 8 hours. So if you look at it out of those 8 months, um, at least 70% of the time I've been eating only one meal a day. Still, I'd rather eat only once a day. But when things are not in my control, I end up doing intermittent fasting instead. So most of the time I try to finish off my food within 2 hours, if not 4 hours. And in worst cases where there are some social engagement parties or some events that I need to attend to, it could extend up to 8 hours. So yeah, so that's how I've been following it. First 3 months, I think it's 90% or more than that. I've been doing only one meal, and then as I told you, um, preference is one meal, but as and when time permits, you might have to give it a skip, right? So one of the things that you might be asking or you might be wanting to know is, did I cheat through this 8 months journey? Um, well, the short answer is no, because I was able to. My main goal was one meal a day, and whichever day I was not able to uh, hold on to one meal a day, I chose intermittent fasting. That larger time frame. So that kind of helped me not to cheat, right? Wherever I had to socialize, I was able to do that, and whenever I had some cravings, uh, I could fulfill that by extending the eating window. So in short, the answer is no, I didn't cheat. Um, I would, so what was my experience in the first few weeks like? So the toughest part of going into such a controlled habit is um, um, is in the first few weeks, right? Uh, Obviously, in my case also, it was the first couple of weeks that was the toughest, and it was not about being hungry, or it was not about being it was nothing to do with intermittent fasting much, it was mainly, your friends and family. You have to convince them why you're not eating, why you're not having dinner with them, or why we wouldn't eat on during a party. So that first few weeks went in explaining to them what I was trying to do and why I was trying to do that. That was the toughest part, I would say, social pressure. Um, and With regards to hunger, as I told you, only the first week I had some issues. I had minor hunger, in the first few days. But apart from that, once I completely went into this habit, I didn't have any problems at all, throughout 8 months. Yeah, that's it. Another point I want to cover is so one important point, or the main goal of one of the main goals of doing this one meal a day was to see what impact it has on my triglycerides. And I'm happy to report that for the first time in at least 10 to 12 years, my triglycerides have come down, and it's kind of permanently come down, I'd say. At least it looks that way so far. So that is one good benefit that I got out of all this. Um, I'll show you I have some interesting data to share with you, where I had recorded my lipids for the past several years. I've been doing that. So the most recent data I can show you, and how going on this diet affected my triglycerides and other lipid profiles. Another impact or effect of this one meal a day is on my uric acid levels. So that is another problem that I had since the last 10 or 12 years. My uric acid was consistently high, around 7 plus range, and every time I go for a health check, my doctor would prescribe some medicines to bring it down, and after eating that, obviously it would come down, and then you go back to normal, and it rises back to normal within no time. So that has been a problem that I've been dealing with. I tried controlling food a bit, but I don't think it helped much. Um, then I know a lot of food. You have to give up on a lot of food when you have to when you have uric acid, high uric acid problem. So I was not game for that. So interestingly, I know while that was not one of the goals with this trial, interestingly, I found out that all of a sudden my uric acid levels had come down drastically. It was most surprising. So even with medication, it hadn't come down to such a low level. So that's again one thing I want to share with you. I have some data from the past year or so where I had recorded the uric acid levels. Um, so I'd be happy to share the lab reports and with you. So